Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Brianka Hurley. I am a part of the Juneteenth Foundation. I am on the board, and I am very, very happy to be here and to join you all. As my guests come in, I would like to just give everyone a second to just get adjusted, hang out. I know it's a busy day, and we're going to get started. Welcome again. As I said, my name is Brianka Hurley. I'm a part of the Juneteenth Foundation. I'm on the board. I would like to welcome Kimberly Baker. Welcome.
Hi. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. You know, today is a great day. Today is the day we celebrate. Today is the day that we are just so excited to be together. And with that, I'd also like to welcome Tamara Ivy. Thank you so much for joining us. You ladies, I'm so excited about this panel. I just want to dive in. As I said, Brianka Hurley, part of the board of the Juneteenth Foundation. I would love each of you. And Kimberly, we can start with you to introduce yourself. Tell us, you know, what you do, who you are, everything.
Awesome. So my name is Kimberly Baker. Many people would call me Kimberly or KB. I am the Director of Human Resources for Ashley Stewart. Been with the organization for close to 3 months. Really weird to say that. Most of my background has been either in retail, startup, and nonprofit. Most recently, before Ashley Stewart, I was with a period underwear company called Banks. All of my career has been in human resources. I think of myself as a modern HR operator, meaning it's all about people and investment, and how to help them grow and how to help companies have the strategy with the people investment. So yeah, it's been all about HR. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And Tamara, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Tamara Ivy. I've been with Ashley Stewart for going on 9 years this year, and it's been a tremendous and great ride. I love working with the company. I've always worked in retail. I've worked for FUBU, Ed Hardy, BB, and mostly in the retail. But with FUBU is in the wholesale space, so definitely on our corporate side. And I'm truly excited to be here today to share my experience.
Thank you so much. I want to dive in. I want to know what made both of you, and you guys can just bounce off of each other, go into your fields. Where did it start?
Tamara, you want to take that?
Sure. I'll start because I have years. So I'll start with Ashley Stewart. I found Ashley Stewart on LinkedIn, and I was recruited off of LinkedIn, and it was 8 years ago during the Christmas holiday, and they were looking for a temp. And there was an opportunity. The recruiter said, this is an opportunity to grow. And 90 days later, they asked me if I wanted to join the full-time team on the merchandising side. And I got to talk with one of the senior buyers. And she told me, you know, this job is a great job, but it really is what you make it. And that kind of stuck with me throughout my career at Ashley Stewart. And to this day, you know, it was something that I was able to, you know, make feel today as a marketing manager, an influencer, a brand advocate, you know, someone that can speak to the history of the brand. So I actually kind of, you know, end up working in my dream job. It's an amazing feeling, but at the same time, it is work, you know. So it was something that I wanted to do. I've always loved doing fashion and retail, and I kind of coupled, you know, my previous experiences with, you know, fashion and retail.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And it's funny because you think about the years that you've put in. So it's really been a long time for you, and you've grown in the company. And I'm sure a lot of people in this session can really that's inspirational. Would you like to go next, Kimberly? I want you to share your experience.
Yeah. So HR happened on a whim. So I went to school for print media broadcast journalism, and the idea was to be this radical journalist who was going to report into these third world countries about the atrocities that were happening. That didn't happen. So instead, I worked for 2 finance firms for about roughly 4 years. And one of the finance firms actually had an opportunity to shadow in the HR department under a corporate recruiter. And so seeing her magic, seeing how she was able to navigate and actually recruit for talent inspired me to want to tap into a little bit more through HR. From that just kind of built into being in HR operations. And then that turned into being more front facing, so more business partner, kind of really having discussions around how to think about talent, how to hire talent, and that elevated to being a business partner and really focusing on just connecting with department leads and business leaders and just senior leaders about what does your talent strategy look like? What is the investment you have on the people side? How does that fit into the larger scope of the strategy of the organization? So to me, it's also always about people, process, and output. And as much as you invest in your business, you have to invest in your people because they are the backbone of your business. And if your people aren't necessarily aligned, nor they feel supported or valued, then your business is not going to really thrive. So
that's awesome. And it's true. Yeah. HR is really the bread and the butter, the backbone of every company, literally. Yeah. So it's so important to talk about that. I'm so happy that you both are in positions that you are helping, these positions, especially as Black women, it's great to have. And it's also inspiring for other people who are looking up to us, so that's amazing. I want to know specifically from both of you, and Tamara, we can start with you. Why Ashley Stewart? Why? Like, what was the motivating factor?
The motivating factor for me was, and like Kimberly, my mom was a customer, and I grew up in the stores. So when I got the job, she was the first person I said, Mom, the job is in New Jersey. I live in New York. I live in Brooklyn by JFK Airport. I was like, should I take the job? She's like, and with her heavy Caribbean accent, she's like, child, take the job. Take it. It's an opportunity, and you never know where it could take you. And from that moment, once I kept hearing that, because again, the recruiter said the same thing, I was like, okay, it's a sign. So with that, I said, this has to be destiny, because I've always worked in fashion, but I've never really was able to work with a brand that I connected with, that was a household name or in a neighborhood that I grew up in. And I was able to say, okay, but all the other brands I work for, they're aspirational. We want to aspire to wear, big ticket items, you know what I'm saying? And these are the things that we aspire to do. It's what we do. It's fashion. But the community brands such as Ashley Stewart, a lot of times people do not take the time to invest back in the community, invest back into the brand. This is how I said, okay, well, maybe I could take this opportunity to, work on some type of customer engagement events with the brand. And we've thus done that, throughout the years. And we took that and said, okay, let's feature our customer. I guess we'll jump into that later, Bianca, I'm sure. But, I'll stop right there. But that was the motivational factor for me, was my mother.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Like she said, it's so interesting. So I wasn't looking to take on a new role. I was with Thinks for about 2+ years, and things were fine. But then having this opportunity came, and then kind of learning more about the brand, because I already knew about the brand. My mom was an Ashley Stewart customer since the inception of Ashley Stewart in 1991. So I was born and raised in the Bronx, and there was a store right on the Grand Concourse, if anyone knows that area of New York City in the Bronx. And my mom would shop. And so I already knew the representation that existed. So it was a no-brainer in terms of what the product was about. And then when I started to see, just listening on the change that was happening, but most importantly, just keeping the authenticity of the brand consistent, to me, it was just like, this is a great opportunity to jump in, because it's all about representation. And so what we see on the outward has to be something that we also strive for our employee community. And then having the opportunity to make that happen in this role was very exciting. So it was just a no-brainer in terms of just making the switch to Ashley.
Right. And we talk about representation. You both mentioned that. We talked about childhood, our childhood, and seeing our moms go shop there and us shopping there. Speaking of childhood, can you think of a moment in your childhood where you thought that you would be where you are now? Do you feel like you could have imagined it?
It's funny. I have a book, Sam Fine. He's a well-renowned makeup artist to the celebrities, and he is just amazing. In the book, Mickey Taylor's in the book. Lloyd Boston was the art director for the book. Angelo Ellerby was in the book. And I got this book from a friend of mine at Fubu. She was the head designer, Kianka Peterson. And she said, I don't need this book, T. This is for you. You love hair and makeup. I'm going to give you this book. So for years, I had this book at home. And, 2 or 3 years ago, we partnered with Mickey Taylor, who also has a similar background as mine. She was a merchandising assistant. She was a buyer, things like that. So it was so inspirational. Once we got the call that Lloyd Boston was like going to be our CCO, I was like, this is destiny. How did I have this book with me from Brooklyn to Atlanta, back home? And wow, look at this today. I'm working with the people that I've been reading about for years. And it's so inspiring to me that hopefully, all of our customers and all of our influencers can see that, this is a new day and we're about to have, Ashley Stewart is about to be one of the most amazing brands on the market. And, that's one of the most inspiring things for me right now.
Yeah.
Thank you so
That's
much.
awesome. I will say it's funny, right? Because I think this was my first introduction into fashion. And now I feel like I never want to leave fashion. So because what I'm seeing happen in Ashley Stewart in terms of what we're trying to do and the artists that we're trying to connect with in the capsules and how we're just trying to reposition ourselves, it's amazing. As T mentioned, it's just like completely amazing. So I think in my role as HR, I always knew that I had a gift for gab, but I also knew I have this strong connectivity with people. So anything that I do will have that kind of people relational relationship building aspect to it. I just didn't think it was in HR. And then within HR, I just also felt this personal investment with people because you always want to see people grow. It's a very selfless industry. Sometimes it can feel thankless, but it's because it's never about you. It's about what you can do for your employee at the end of the day. It may not be something that necessarily aligns to what they want, but you want to make sure that you make decisions that are right and fair, and that you explain it to them so they see the big picture. So I have the opportunity to continue to work on the people side, to work with employees who I consider just the bread and butter, as you mentioned, in the backbone of an organization, but I get to do it in an industry that's colorful. I get to do it in an industry where representation matters. I get to do it in an industry where they don't compromise on their values, they don't compromise on who their customers, their customer base is. Even though we want to expand it, you never lose sight of who it is. So I feel like I have the best of both worlds. And though I didn't imagine it, I'm glad that I'm here.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. And you touched on something that I really want to discuss as well. You're working in a very creative place, a very colorful place, a place that is lively and bright. Do you find yourself running into any challenges as a woman of color? Tamara, we can start with you.
You know what? Ashley Stewart is, let's just start where the moniker Ashley came from. It's Ashley Stewart. It's a brand that was birthed in Brooklyn, 1991. And you're thinking, what's going on in Brooklyn at that time? You have, New York was going through a big, hefty change financially. Women of color were, losing their jobs left and right. My mother was one of them. We were going to relocate upstate, and then we stayed in Brooklyn, and she got on welfare to work. And Ashley Stewart was the place that she was told to go to find her outfits to go to work. And it helped her so much with the level of confidence. I never really was able to see any type of, even though it was targeted towards women of color, I was never really able to see that because my mother, she stepped out and said, you just have to stand out. You don't let anybody see your problems, your issues. The way I dress, I want you to see me. And I want you to always remember, it's not about your color. It's not about being a woman. It's just about being a human being. So morally, that was who I've always represented, because I come from a very diverse background. But at the end of the day, in the workplace, you do see stuff like that. And especially at Ashley Stewart, our customer, she's been the underdog for years. you know, and she's been attacked, she's been beat up, she has to, you know, take care of the home and make sure she's raising children on her own. She's a single parent. She's, you know, trying to get her education, doing all of this on a 9 to 5. And, you know, coming into the workplace, you still have to deal with that because you're still that woman when you go to work. Even though you're trying to uplift others, you're still taking on their burdens, their issues, and you're trying to, as a Black woman, cope with all of that. Yeah. So I say all of that to say, you know, once we were going through, you know, the bankruptcy and things like that, these things kind of made Ashley Stewart stick out even more as a brand for women of color. And we started to see a lot of brands and people just didn't want to associate with us. So for me, that was like the eye opener, like, oh, okay, so everybody's running away. Now where we were moving like the tortoise, and that's how you do. You don't try to, you know, go faster and be dumber. You work at a good pace and you pace yourself and you study and until you get it right. You know, and I think that right now, the direction that the company is going, we're getting it right by, you know, including women of color into the workplace, especially in the position that Kimberly's in. It's very important because we need leaders that look like us, that are going to say, okay, this is the right, you know, career path for you, and let's help you get there. And people who have experience. So I think as a brand, I experienced it, you know what I'm saying, working at this brand and then working at FUBU, you know, since back in those days, we were always screaming, you know, Black Lives Matter, because for us, by us, that's what it meant. You know, we creating it for us and it's by us. It's for all of us. So since the 90s, we've been screaming that. And I've always tried to partner with brands, or work with brands rather, that, you know, represent me and I see myself. And, you know, when I started working at Ashley Stewart, I did see that, but things changed. And now we're back in a place where I think that we're going to go in the right direction, especially with partnering with the Juneteenth Foundation and acknowledging such a great, huge accomplishment and milestone for people of color in America. So this is great for me. And I think this is just one of the biggest steps right now, because I think we're the exclusive fashion sponsor for the Juneteenth Foundation, yes. And, you know, probably one of the only retail companies that's fashion retail that has African-American women, you know, employed in the company, and it's a big deal. So kudos to Ashley, yes. You know, stepping out and, you know, just being us, different.
I love that. And that was so powerful. And I can truly appreciate you just sharing your experience, because it literally, I can feel it through the screen.
Yeah.
Kim, please give me your experience as well, you know, going through this as a woman of color.
Yeah. So what I will say is in my role, it's important for representation. I will continue to talk about representation until the day that I no longer exist on this earth, because if you don't have representation, especially as, you know, Black people, people of color, however you want to identify yourself, you're never going to be able to match and understand your authenticity and where you come from. So I think the thing that Ashley Stewart does well is that it invites women of color to come to the forefront and to come to the table. And not to say, here's one particular position that you can assert yourself in. It's like, no, you want to build yourself up, here's where we are. For example, with the merchandise team, we have one senior buyer and we have a few buyers. And that senior buyer, you know, she is the face of representation in terms of having like the highest, I would say, level on that team. And she's been in the industry for so many years, and to just have her tutelage, to have her insight, to have her knowledge, and to see her thrive. And then we also have our technical design manager. Like, to see that is awesome, because they're creating the products for the consumer, and who we love, which is the consumer who comes back for us. So to me, it's creating those spaces, right? It's creating those spaces and not doing it in jobs that are just entry level, but doing it where it's more than having a seat at the table, but your voice is heard across the organization. So it's important in my role, but most importantly, in getting into the ears of senior leaders, saying, if you want your business to thrive, we need to start positioning ourselves better. And how we position ourselves better is with diverse school of thought, diverse perspectives, and diverse voices in the room. And here's the list of diverse voices that you need to elevate, so they can kind of so they can share how we can shape this organization to how you want it to be. So, yeah.
And it's amazing that you're talking about shaping the organization and thinking about our positions, having a seat at the table, but also having a voice, right? Like you said, you're not just sitting there, you're actually contributing in what you say, your thoughts, your mind, everything matters. And speaking of that, I really want to touch on working at such a big company. How does the company deal with mental health, their employees? What are things that Ashley Stewart is doing to ensure that, you know, their employees are doing well, especially after so many tragic events that we see? Is that important for the company?
I would say so. I would say so. It is important. I think one of the things that the company did well in terms of just the pandemic, in terms of just quarantine, is that we're currently in a space where we're a little bit of a hybrid, where there's a little bit of flexibility. So we have different groups of employees that come into the office every couple of days a week, or we have groups of employees who may just work from home for the meantime. We also have accommodation. So, for example, if you need to take time off, let's talk about that. Because for us, if you can't be your best self at work, then you're not going to be where we need you to be. So I would say in just the short months that I've been here, just the conversations that I've had with our CEO, Gary Shenbaum, but also just with some of the senior leaders and just speaking with some employees, mental health and wellness is important. And so in my role, it's more so, okay, here's the foundation of what we have now. How do we elevate that? So that is something that's also very critical for me, because mental health and wellness, especially in the Black community, is important. We don't do enough talk about it. I feel like sometimes we've been brought up in households where you don't talk about therapy, right? You don't talk about mental health and wellness. You just kind of just go through the ringer. We're survivalists. We got to do what we got to do. We don't talk about these issues. And here's the thing. That's how suicides rates go up. That's how the inability to perform in your best, to perform your best, emotional instability, all of these things that can really attribute to the breakdown of your psyche, but the breakdown of your mental and wellness state. So it's very important in my role that, I see the layout of what we have and how do we expand on that? Because even though we're opening up across the country, mental health is still at an all-time high in terms of making sure that we have a proper pathway that all employees feel supported. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Tamara, do you have input on that?
Definitely. For me, mental health is like number one. It's self-care, right? It's how you take care of yourself. Our issues lead to mental health issues when we don't take care of them. So, for example, for me, I had both of my parents passed away within a year and a half. My dad died of COVID. So I was dealing with a lot, during COVID, and going to the gym, going to the sauna, being consistent, being with my family, things like that. It helped a lot, visiting my family every 2 weeks, during the pandemic, saying hi from like across the street, things like that. I had to stay connected because, I was dealing with a lot. So I really personally, said, take time for yourself, don't stop eating right for life. Don't stop exercising. Don't stop, doing all the things that, give you that little quick adrenaline rush, because guess what? Those are the things that lead to happiness. And if you don't do that, then that's a problem. You have to, don't worry about if it's right or wrong at the moment. Okay. I'm not trying to be a mommy here. I'm just trying to, lead you to happiness, like for, light stuff, self-care, doing a mask at home, cooking your favorite foods, doing something different, going for a walk. Trust me, a lot of people may think it's a little boring, but you go for a walk around the block, it does a lot. Get involved in some type of Zumba class, some type of dance class, aerobics, yoga, something to keep your blood moving and striving, and, do some smoothies and just downtime, lots of down and relaxation, because it's so necessary.
Yeah. And I even think about small things like painting your nails, breathing, sitting,
breathing.
Literally, I think sometimes we forget to breathe. It's like you gotta just take a second, and that's incredibly important too. Like
it is.
Sit in silence. It's a game changer, I promise.
It is. And your body tells you to stay home. That's a big game changer.
Yeah.
Tell you. You know?
Because we work so hard, we do so much, and it's nonstop. Life is nonstop. Yeah. And sometimes it takes certain things that make us sit down. You know, you see yourself getting sick, you see yourself just stressed, and life changes. It's okay to sit down. I appreciate both of you giving that input, because I really want to stress how important mental health is. And it's great to see such a big company that cares about their employees and cares about their mental health and truly values that. As someone, especially being on the board, this time and day is very difficult still for everyone. Yeah. We have small successes, but we are still fighting, and we still have a long way to go. And so that's why I really wanted to the people here to see Black women doing well, but also taking care of themselves. Doing well does not mean that you have to literally just tire yourself out. You have to take care of yourself. Success does not mean exhausted. Success means you're doing what you want, you're happy with it, and you're thriving. So I love that. Appreciate that. I would also love to know, you know, going back to, you know, childhood and then adulthood, what are some things that you would say you would have changed during your career? What are some things you would tell people maybe they should do differently to get them where they are now?
I was a little bit of a late bloomer, I always like to say, because even though I was in HR for most of my career, I felt like I didn't know where in HR I wanted to be. And so I think what would have been helpful is that all of my learning actually happened in the latter part of my current career versus in the beginning. So I think it's really just taking the time to think about what it is that you want and kind of dive into many different areas until you figure it out. For me, I think I just worked. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got to make some money. And then that turned into, well, no, I really like what I'm doing. And that turned into, I want to kind of advance. So I might as well learn a little bit more of the foundational pieces. But I think what I would have done differently is like really take the time to curate what are some of the different elements that I like about HR, and then build kind of a pathway in terms of, okay, here's the different directions in which I could go. So I think I would have done that a little bit differently, my younger self. So
pay more attention to things, you know.
Pay more attention, yeah. Just be very intentional. I think that's the key, intentional. For me, it was a little bit fluid, and the intentionality didn't happen until the latter part. So it's like being intentional. And I mean, when you're in I'm going to date myself. I'm in my 40s. When you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure life out. When you're in your 30s, you're still trying to figure life out. And I think that around the 30s and figuring your life out and being more kind of concrete and grounded in your career, sometimes you got to push that a little bit in your 20s, but just kind of like as a testing ground of here's all the different opportunities that you can take advantage of. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Everything you said, everything, definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you ladies, something that, you know, for me being a part of the foundation, you know, a big thing is networking. And I also really would like to encourage everyone in these sessions to please go to the sponsor booths, network, get in touch with people. You know, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to talk to. But you know, you have to put yourself out there. And I've learned that going through college, going through my master's program, you know, coming out of my shell. And I think you guys can probably agree as well, how important networking is. I don't think they stress it enough in school. But talking of networking, what are some tips and advice that you can give people to network and can help them with, you know, jobs and getting to these big companies?
Research.
Yes.
Research. If you are interested in a big company, research what they're about, because you want to make sure that it's not only about you working for them, but you want to make sure that this is the right environment for you. You also want to make sure that the very core values in their mission align to your core values and mission. Even though you may not have your moral compass down packed, it still identifies with, you know, doing good in the world. So I think that's incredibly important, just that research knowledge. We're in a space of digital connectivity, right? So LinkedIn. So if you type in, you know, a company and you see a couple of different people who work there, reach out to them and just to get to learn more. And it's not like you're doing cold calling, quote unquote, but you're really trying to learn about the culture. You're trying to learn about different aspects of the business. And you never know, that connectivity can actually take you to being somewhere in the interview process. So I think you just have to put yourself out there and recognize that you know, that the worst that can happen is no one responds, but you're still putting yourself out there because you're doing the work. So that's I would say.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and as my late father would say, networking works.
Yes.
That was one of his monikers for Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce, and it does. It works
Yes.
to the point where it, you know, helps create your vision. It helps create your, you know, where you want to go in your future. I mean, your vision, your life. It helps create that. Networking works, especially when you make it work properly for you. You contact everything that, you know, Kimberly said is absolutely right.
Mhm.
You know, you cold calling is a old school way of just saying, you know, reaching out to a company and introducing yourself, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like going out and hitting the pavement looking for jobs, you know. Signing up with temp agencies. Google gives you the answer to everything. Temp agencies near me, agencies near me, any type of recruiting, whatever. You can find it on the internet. LinkedIn is your best friend. I found my job on LinkedIn. I've been here for a long time. And, you know, I feel like I owe LinkedIn, you know, a lot because it was a networking business platform, you know, and people need to understand, like, you can't do what you do on Facebook and Instagram on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional business tool that, you know, it's another portfolio. They're looking at your resume. All of these things that you would put on Instagram and Facebook, you would not put those same type of pictures and things like that. When you're networking, and you have to know the type of audience you're networking to as well. Just, you know, don't go out there and hand out your resume and things like that. And, you know, like, we're going to meet after this in the booth. If this is the right career path for you, you know, you stay with us and you talk to us. And, you know, if we don't know someone, like Kimberly said, she'll network you out to someone else that may be able to help you. And that's what networking is. If it can't work here, it'll work somewhere else.
Oh man, I love that. And I appreciate that. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so, you know, speaking of networks, if you go to our booth for this programming, you'll be able to see some of the job openings and be able to submit your resume. So that's another way of networking, right? It's just to see what is out there. And if it's not something that's kind of aligned to what you want to do, again, just having the conversation and learning more about the environment, because when things open up to what you want to do, you're already building those connections, like Tamara said. So it makes it a little bit of a shoe-in. And yes, it sounds easier said than done, but it's just putting that work in. And sometimes you just have to. You got to put the work in.
You have to. You can't make it far without work, you know?
Yeah.
And someone actually, I'm happy you mentioned that, because someone did ask in the Q&A, how could they go about getting an opportunity to model for Ashley Stewart, and what things can they do? And you guys may be able to provide another tip or two, but I would like to encourage you to go to their booth. You know, you never know.
Yeah, we can go to the booth and we can chat there.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, ladies. So another question I would like to ask, and I think this question is probably one of my favorites because it really will give other people an idea of the career goals that you have. What impact would you like to leave at your company? I know, you know, you're fairly new. You've been there for a while. What, if you leave in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, what impact do you want people to say that you had?
That I was everyone's partner. So I'm a big fan of partner. Yes, my title is HR director, but I'm a people partner. And that means that every single person across the organization is my responsibility to make sure that they understand their add value. So at the end, for me, it's just understanding that you had a partner who understood your add value and was able to help you excel in Ashley Stewart, or take what you learn and be able to excel elsewhere. Because you're not going to stay forever, right? So I think it's just knowing that you had a partner through and through that was able to see your add value, and that you were able to understand the add value that you have in an organization. That's my biggest thing.
Oh, I love that. I love people partner. That's great.
Yeah.
Tamara, did you want to?
Yeah, I would say, it's happening right now, right? We've been able to, I don't want to say Tamara, but Tamara was part of the team that, we gave our customer a voice many, many times when, brands didn't want to hear from the customer. Brands wanted to hear from just influencers, but we believed in the customer because she's the one that's influencing the community to believe her. She's influencing her girlfriends, her family. They're like, girl, you look great. Where'd you get that? Ashley Stewart. And that's how that conversation happens. And then when, oh, go vote for me. I'm on Ashley Stewart's website and I'm going up for Finding Ashley Stewart or whatever modeling competition they have. It's strictly for the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is unheard, she is unseen, and just like this customer here, she shops at Ashley, and she knows that that is an opportunity that we do give to our day-to-day, everyday woman, where she can win anywhere in upwards in $10,000 or $3,000 in clothes. This is the type of legacy I want to be a part of the team that we leave behind, whereas, we were able to help elevate the brand to higher heights of, it's a consumer brand, not just a celebrity brand or an influential brand, but she influences through, her spending, and that's her influence. It's, to be honest, Yeah. And if it wasn't for that customer, Ashley Stewart wouldn't be here today.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's great. And we talk about creative spaces. We talk about the everyday customer. We talk about fashion. And do you guys feel that you've experienced, or in the company, for Black women, our hair is a big thing, right? We talk about it all the time. A lot of companies have certain standards where it's insane and it's uncomfortable. You have the clothes down. We get it. You have the fashion. Do you experience any issues in the workplace with your hair as a Black woman? Have you ever?
No.
I would say
no. They don't even listen. I remember one time I came into work. As a matter of fact, it was an older team member. She's no longer with us. And I came to work with my rollers, and she was like, girl, don't do that. And I was like, okay. But, in the world that I'm in, that it's hard, because you're in the city, you got to, get on the train and things like that. So sometimes I want my pin curls in. It's not a problem. I've never, ever experienced that with real hair or false hair, whatever. Not an issue. We go to work on Fridays, head tied out. We partner with Cream of Nature and brands like that. Like, we cannot, that can't even happen
I would say, listen, in every of my roles, I've never had a problem with my hair. I wear my hair straight sometimes in the winter, and then I wear my hair curly in the summer because it's hot and I just want to wash and go. And it's not about my hairdo. It's really about my presentation and my approach and my communication with you. Now, if I'm coming in and, I'm not really being my best self in my communication approach with you, then we got a problem. Right. But what I have on my hair and how I style my hair has nothing. It's not distracting. It's not taking away from the narrative, and I'm able to get my job done. And I never had that understanding of like hair. There was a organization that I worked for years back. It was a nonprofit, and it was a very academia, very scholarly, very prestigious organization. And there was one individual who had a colorful mohawk and tattoos, and he came with his authentic self to work. And the one thing that I loved was he was one of our best employees. He was one of our best people in talent. He got the job done. He was excelling. He was able to communicate effectively with the community of folks that we served, though it had this very scholastic, tone. but he came with his authentic self. And my thing is, you know, if this white man can come with his authentic self, I can come with my authentic self, whatever I look like, you know, as long as I'm effective in my communication and my approach and my professionalism. So I never understood this thing about hair, especially with Black women. I feel like it's such a fetish. I also feel like it's such a fascination where it's like, no, it's not uncommon. So yeah, I just never had that problem. And if there was ever a conversation to be had, let's have it. So I can tell you about the history of my hairstyle. So then you'll understand why I wear it with pride. And I think it's education. I think it's very important. It's that education aspect. You don't know where the pride comes from. So let me explain it to you so you have an understanding. And so we will have this conversation again.
Yeah, I love that. You know, you have to be transparent and you have to have those uncomfortable conversations. Unfortunately, it happens more than we'd like, but it's necessary. You want to educate people. You want to show people what we stand for as women. And I know I've done a lot of the deep questions, but I want to have a little fun. I want to know, you know, what things outside of your day-to-day do you ladies do for fun? You know, and are those things contributing to your career?
Yes. I do a lot. You know, I spent, like, I just came home from seeing my goddaughter. She graduated from school, kindergarten. So I try to see her every 2 weeks. And then I go to Zumba. I go to the gym. You know, I cook a lot. That's one thing I love to do, is cook a lot. And I'm in the community a lot. Like, my dad was a politician. He passed away, I said, of COVID. And so I've kind of been adopted into his lifestyle in Brooklyn and his political lifestyle. And I have like a whole political family in Brooklyn. And I'm just truly grateful for them because they keep us busy, like with, you know, phone banking and things like that. Just it's voting time and it's early voting. So there's a lot going on here in New York. So I'm able to, you know, work with that side of my family and, you know, just do something different outside of fashion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a 2.5. No, definitely not 2.5. So she's 8.5. I have an 8.5-year-old daughter. Her name is Izzy. So she keeps me kind of buzzing through. Right now she's in a pivotal age in which she is going into the 4th grade, but now she's becoming more aligned in the different activities she wants to do. So she's a lover of basketball. So she's in basketball. Now we're about to put her in swimming. So it's really just being around her. And then when she is with her dad on the weekends, because we co-parent, I just sit and just, I'm just still, I just sit from the week and I'm still, and then I'll do a little bit of walking. I love, like Tamara, I love walking. So I'm not too far from Central Park in terms of just walking distance in Harlem. So I'll just walk and just sit and just be with nature and just kind of just be by myself. And that's what I like to do.
Yes, I think about, so I have 3 kiddos.
Okay.
5-year-old, my daughter's Isabel. We call her Izzy too. That's why I thought that was Izzy.
Yeah.
Then I have a 3-year-old.
Izzy, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so life is crazy. So trust me, when bedtime rolls around, I'm like,
yeah. You gotta breathe. You gotta breathe somehow.
And we're also blessed. You know, thinking about our positions, thinking about the fact that we are able to have a balanced life, that's something to be thankful for. And like I said, I want to, even this session, right? Being able to interact with each other. We've been in the house for a very long time. We're interacting more with people, even if it's on Zoom. We're getting out more. Do you guys have any plans for the summer? Do you want to do anything fun?
I'm going to try to do a lot of travel. Or as much travel as I can. So I kicked off the travel bug in April. So we'll probably continue to do traveling at least until August. With of course safely and taking all the safety, measures and precautions, but we're definitely going to travel. It's time.
It's time.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I haven't traveled. I haven't started that yet, but I've been hitting the beach every moment I can. I love the beach. That's one. I live right here, so I might as well. I love traveling, so that's going to be happening soon. And then that's pretty much it. Just spending time with family. Have a lot of family dinners. things like that. So we're trying to just like stay connected, that's pretty much it.
You have to right now. You need, you need to be around family, you need to be around friends. We all need each other right now. And I'm thinking about life, and I'm thinking about the impact that we're making on other people's lives. I would love to know, and this is going to be a pretty cool question. If you had to craft a mission statement for your life that you would like people to know, what would it be? Kimberly, I would love for you to start.
Oh my goodness, craft a mission statement. That's interesting, right? For my life. Let's see.
This is a hard one, I know.
That's a hard one. Craft a mission statement for my life. I am in the business. My purpose is to empower and to dare greatly.
Wow.
That is my mission statement. My purpose is to empower and dare greatly. So it's a mix of empowerment, and it's also a mix of Brene Brown's Dare Greatly. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. I love that. I think I may steal that one.
Do it.
Tamara?
Yes, in order to get the part, you have to know the part. Study your craft and be your most authentic self. Okay? You have to go to bed with yourself at night. So you live with that every day.
Wow.
I'm stealing that myself. I'm stealing
it all. I need these on t-shirts. I need these on my wall. But I just want to encourage everyone, because we're talking about passion, we're talking about mission statements, and the Juneteenth Foundation. We are here for a purpose. We're passionate. And we're so thankful to partner with Ashley Stewart. This is amazing. This is our first year. We're new. This is big time, And I want to thank you both, because this could not have happened without you. Our foundation strives to obviously make this a federal holiday, a national holiday, and to keep educating people. That's our biggest thing. We want to continue to educate the community, continue to educate our colleagues, to make those uncomfortable conversations happen more often, and to recognize the things that we've done and to celebrate. Today's a day of celebration. We talk about the hardships that we have, but the Juneteenth Foundation is one of celebration. So I just want to encourage you all to celebrate today. Celebrate everything, celebrate life, celebrate family, and just get out there and network. Hit the sponsor booths, please.
Yes.
This is a big time, and you don't want to miss the moment. You never know what you're going to get. You never know who you're going to talk to. And with that, I would love for you guys, as we close, to just give a few more tips or anything where people can find you. Let people know anything about Ashley Stewart that we don't know, things that may surprise the community.
So I can talk about the recruiting standpoint. So we are definitely hiring. We are looking for strong, diverse talent. And when you think about the word diversity, we come in all different shapes, sizes, experiences. We're looking for that. I think also it's important to know it's having the conversations about what a company is, and knowing it's a two-part of what can that company do for you, and how can you benefit from that company's gain, and vice versa. If you want to learn more about the different roles that we're hiring for, please feel free to contact me. I'll say my email address. I'm happy to receive emails. I try to respond within 24, 48 hours. It's kbaker, BAKER, @ashleystewart.com. Let's have a conversation. Let's know your background, your history, and how we can find some alignment in what you're looking for. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I actually do have one other question. Someone asked, how is Ashley Stewart going to be celebrating Juneteenth as a company?
Right.
So you want to take that question? I mean, I discussed it in the workplace career. So I love our company for this simple fact. So how we're celebrating Juneteenth, we actually, from the corporate office, we were closed to observe Juneteenth, and today all of our retail offices, all of our retail locations are closed in observance of Juneteenth, and I think that is huge. And this is the second year that we're doing it, but it makes a stance, and it shows that we are literally making time for our associates, but most importantly for our community to reflect and to really understand the history, but also the celebration around Juneteenth. So that's how Ashley Stewart is holding our efforts in terms of celebrating Juneteenth. Tamara, you want to add more to that as well?
Perfect. That was it.
And then we're also doing, we have specialty t-shirts that we designed specifically for Juneteenth,
Yes.
In which 100% of the proceeds are actually going to the Juneteenth Foundation.
Yes.
So we're super excited about that. Partnering with you guys has been incredible. What you're doing personally and professionally for me is incredible. So I couldn't think of an organization that I'm more proud of, that we're partnering to make this happen, and that our proceeds are going to continuing to build the history, continuing to build that knowledge, continuing to build that recognition. So super excited.
Thank you so much. This has been so amazing. And I just think about how many lives we may touch even having these discussions. I want to continue to encourage everyone, go to the sponsor booths, connect with people on LinkedIn. We discussed this earlier, but this is critical. We gave contact information out. You don't want to miss these opportunities. You don't get them often at all. So please do that. I also want to encourage everyone to donate to the Juneteenth Foundation. We are doing things, and we wouldn't be able to do things like this without people's support. So I really would like to encourage everyone to continue to check out our website, check out all the things we'll be doing. This year was a great year, but next year is going to be even greater. And I would love to also encourage everyone to keep going to Ashley Stewart's website, shop, but also look out for the things they're doing for the community. This is not a small company that is, just doing little things here and there. They're actively supporting Black businesses, actively supporting Black companies, foundations like the Juneteenth Foundation. We spoke about hair product lines. We spoke about all the things that they're doing for the community. Please be sure to donate and support. I want to thank you both for joining me on this conversation. This was amazing, and I hope that we reach someone. Even if it's one or two people, this is what it's about. I want to thank you both. Is there anything last minute that you would like to share before we close out?
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Back to Kimberly, this is a great initiative, and what you're doing for us as a people. I cannot wait to see what next year is to bring.
Yes.
Kudos to you guys, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
This has been amazing. It's been amazing. I'm so happy that this has happened. I'm so happy that we were a part of it. And we need this. So looking forward to more years of this conversation to come.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank you, ladies, for taking time out of your day. Go celebrate. Today's our day.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone.
I'm going to stay in the booth till 2:30, just so I can answer some questions. I want to make sure that lady has the information. Hopefully she's there in regards to modeling. So.
Yeah, and I'll stick around for a little bit too, just in terms of anyone has any questions around just roles and what we're recruiting for. So
awesome. Thank you so much. Go to the booth.
Thank you, Bianca. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.